I would like to start this off by saying, if the camera falls over, it's not my fault. Blame the tripod. Okay, this is just going to be me reading the first chapter of one of my favourite stories that I've ever written. I've been writing this since about grade 6, and it was terrible back then, but I've definitely read worse stories. This story revolves around, the main character is called Francesca Persephone Siddhartha Davis. She originally had the word Miles in her name, as in Miles Davis, until I realized he was a jazz musician. And one, I don't like jazz. Two, it would offend the people who do like jazz. So I think I'll just get right into it. Okay, this is chapter 1 of I'm Mad. What about you? The big tree in our local park is entirely black now. I can't quite recollect how this came to be, but I do know that it's closely linked with the graffiti on my house and the giant holes in several of my windows. Also, it has something to do with me being in a big white van and the hatred I experience every day from my own mother. If you knew her, you'd know why. It was a blur of bright city lights and black paint, breaking glass and ornaments and shrieking. Terrible shrieking. It sounded like me, but I wasn't aware of any sound escaping from my wheezing lungs. First truly whirlwind night on the town I've ever had, and I only remember segments of the whole thing. First, twirling and spinning and the feel of pavement under my feet, mixed with the weight of a spray can in my sweaty palm. Painted pavement mingled with grass, and green leaves danced around trees that towered in the sky. The whoosh of paint from can coating the tree till it was something scary and twisted. A completely black tree in the middle of the great wide park, and the night that was equally as dark. The paint-stained grass surrounding the charcoal tree cold under my face as I cowered long into the dark night. I didn't notice that cars began to arrive. The people began to swarm. The blurry figures started to handle me, to bundle me up and put me into a car. I had not the strength to cry out or to whimper. This wasn't due to the influence of any foreign substance, other than my mind, because I had created all this. It was the day my mind snapped. The day I snapped. Could have been the day that changed my life. Did that happen months ago? Did I make some sort of subconscious decision to disassociate with my present life? Or was it something to do with destiny? I woke up in bed the next day, dressed in the jeans I wore a few days ago. Well, attempted to dress in them. The holes in my knees were once again the bane of my existence as the foot mistook the hole for the end of my jeans. I feared that at the end of this month, my beloved pants would have to become shorts. The old me would have hated the thought of changing this wardrobe staple at all. The old me would have worn these pants until the seams gave out. And with good reason too. My popularity had gone down the drain at the hands of these jeans. All afternoon, one long summer day, I'd spend crouched on a sun-blemished rock like a panty-clad turtle, skinning the life out of the knees of these precious pants. Why? I have no idea. Perhaps the lengthening days that had driven me to desire central air vents. Or maybe it was my fragile sense of fashion. Either way, it seemed really stupid when a camera flash went off and the telltale rustle of a bush informed me of a masked assailant. On Monday, My flour-covered ass was all over the bulletin board. So maybe a change of heart had nothing to do with destiny. It was just due to my unwillingness to take anything from anyone anymore. Once the pants were on, I staggered downstairs. There, sitting on a chair in the room, was the pointiest looking woman I have ever seen. Her hair, immaculately combed, and her clothes were grey and tailored, folded tight against her body. I had a vague recollection of her sharp features, dancing through my line of vision as I lay against the night, completely helpless. "Hi?" I said, more like the question, "What are you doing in my living room?" On these words, she rose, and I advanced closer to her. She stood shorter than me, but exuded an air of superiority that chilled my very soul. "Not." I narrowed my eyes at her. "I," she began, in a heavy accent, "am Dr. Natasha Vasiliev." She glared at me. "Last night, several members of my hospital staff rushed to your aid and deposited you on your doorstep. I am here today to honor the hospital's policy of checking up on patients." "Patient?" I repeated skeptically. Just then, my mother entered the room and rushed over to me, taking no consideration about my throbbing head. I gave a prolonged wince as she was squeezing me in a vice-like hug. I raised one finger to my lips to try and tell her in the politest way possible to shut up. "Oh, of course," she said, dropping her arms from around me. But I still knew she had no clue as to how I was feeling. I staggered over to the lounge and flopped down. I looked over at Dr. Natasha, who was sat almost regally in my favourite chair. I hated her all the more, and I wanted her out of my house. My mother, however, bustled around with tea and small cakes, attempting to aid her tolerance of this place. Apparently, I found myself sighing. "Okay, so you've checked up on me. Why are you still here?" "Franny," my mother said absently, while handing me a cup of tea, "do not be rude to your guest." "My guest?" I said incredulously. "What the hell have I got to do with her?" I spat. "I control more than you think," she said, in a calm voice that made me want to spear tackle her. "Oh yeah, Natasha, what is it you control? Soviet Russia is dead, in case you haven't noticed. I will overlook your choice of bad manners and choose to inform you now of something you are likely to find unpleasant." "More than you being in my house?" "Doubtful," I said, rolling my eyes. "Mrs. Davis," she said coolly, "please, I think it is time to tell your child." My mother looked torn. Between pleasing her new queen and whatever loyalty she had left for me, I assumed. "Franny, as you know, I was very worried about you last night, and you could have hurt someone, or yourself. So when Dr. Natasha intervened, I offered to help you. I agreed." "Just wait a second," I said slowly. "Help me?" "Yes, honey," Mum said tightly. "You're booked for a stay at the hospital." Everyone says that when bad news is told, time slows down. I can't say whether that's true for me, but I did feel numb. I scarcely felt the teacup drop from my hands and send its liquid contents spilling into the carpet. "Oh, Franny, look what an awful mess you've made," my mother scolded me. "You could have broken my good cup." "Your good cup," I repeated. "Your good cup." I stared at her. "I'm very sorry, Mum," I said in a deadpan voice, before raising my unclad foot and bringing it down with a stomp upon the pathetically empty piece of china. It splintered immediately, sending shards into the abyss, into the carpet, and painfully as they skewered into my foot. Her response was to gasp. Mine was to pick up the remains of the teacup, set them on the table, and remark, "We wouldn't want that, now would we?" Before turning on my heel and tracking blood all the way to the front door.